Right. And would you encourage students to pursue entrepreneurship?
I think so, because it's a great way. Firstly, number one, of building and bringing your creativity to work. It's a great way of also setting your kind of your vision and bringing your vision to action some way. If you were to look at books that impacted me, I would say Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl is a
Lovely.
good one.
Okay. So how to go from good to great,
Yeah,
essentially.
Phil
By
Collins. Okay. Phil Collins.
Okay. Okay.
I think Phil Collins. Good to great, yeah.
Okay. By Phil Collins, about setting up a business.
Yeah, I mean he's evaluated many businesses, looked at companies that have really become great companies, and he found out what really makes them great. One thing is, as an entrepreneur or whatever it is, you got to be hands-on. You got to be, you got to do everything yourself and understand, and and not really hope that there's somebody else.
There's no other department
There's no
to
other-
take care of this or that.
Yeah. You're on your own, and you got to be everything.
Yeah. Welcome everyone to yet another episode of the Chai Pe Career podcast, and I'm your host Shri. Today with me I have a very illustrated guest, Mr. Krish Shankar, who has been the group head of HR for Infosys, and prior to that he has worked with stellar companies such as Bharti Airtel, Hindustan Unilever and others. Krish is also a prolific speaker, and he's been consulting with multiple organizations in the HR space. Krish, over to you. Thank you for taking the time out to have a chat with us. Our podcast is on the future of work. So my first question will be, what do you think is going to be the future of work for students who are graduating today in the age of AI?
No, I think AI is in every part of work, especially I interact with students and I see them using AI a lot, in everything that they do. And I think we're going to see more and more people using AI. And in the next few years, I think many of our kind of processes will have AI completely embedded into them. So if you look at organizations, I think I would say at least 50-60% of the current processes would have some way AI embedded into them. So therefore, you've got to work with AI. And I think as students, you got to really know what are the newer skills you need as you look into the world, which is going to be an AI-led world.
Yeah.
And what is it? I think there are 3 or 4 shifts that they should really be focused on. I think currently there's a lot of focus of students focus on how they can do analysis. If you look at the first jobs, many people join as like an analyst, and there's a lot of analysis and help. Now AI is going to take all of that. So you probably need to really move on and say, what else can you do? And that's where I think students need to focus more on problem finding. How can they be more creative and more connected in understanding what are the problems and how can they solve them. So that's going to be a little bit more about, it's not about doing analysis, but saying more connected thinking, more creative way of identifying issues and ways of coming up with solutions in a much more connected and creative way. I think the second thing is, the focus would be a lot more about them to, even in the first one I was speaking about, it's about understanding across disciplines, not just your discipline, but understanding things across disciplines and seeing what makes sense, connecting the dots and seeing the patterns in a way. So that's going to be more important than plain analysis in the view of in the world of AI. The second thing is this people part, that's going to become more important. How do you work with people, but much more understanding emotions, empathy, and influencing people, leading people. So that's going to be the other area they need to really work on a lot more. I think the last part is, with AI and so many other things, what you will learn, what you need to learn will change. Because AI is going to give you stuff which is there, but your learning has to change, and we got to be much more sharper, much more agile learners, and build this knack of learning continuously. So I think, and you learn from many things. You learn from people, you learn from situations, And you're going to have a lot of media from which to learn from. You don't know what, so therefore it's going to be lots to learn. So therefore, how are you good at learning and continuously improving yourself? So I think students now, I would say they should focus on these areas as they move into the world of the age of AI in the next few years.
Yeah, I loved what you said, and perhaps also learn from AI. I mean, from all the different sources, and also what artificial intelligence itself, throws up. And yeah, I loved the fact that, all the skills that you mentioned have something to do with the human touch, right? Understanding people, and that AI can never do. So, Krish, in your career, give us a story that you will always remember. It could be from a boss, something to do with a colleague, something that stuck with you. Because again, this is a human driven world at the end of the day, and I would love to know the human stories behind the people that we talk to. So yeah.
Yeah. There are many stories. I think most of these stories are stories of, and the ones that always come to your mind are stories of embarrassment, stories where you've struggled, you've learned, etc. And I'm not sure whether one or two that I can pick out, but yeah, it's about going to different things and different places, different countries, and going through problems and learning from them. For example, I was early in my job. I was in the UK, in London, doing a project, and I was not. I was struggling to make an impact there. And I think a few words of help and coaching from my colleagues helped me understand how I can do it better. I've learned from my bosses a lot. I think very many cases where bosses use humor and things to really get teams around. Stories where we have done various adventures and outbounds, and we've had many stories there where we've learned. So I think there's so many things there. It's just not one, but I think it's about when you work, and I've worked over for almost 40 years, I think you connect with people, you connect with various situations. And there are lots of learning that and lots of memories that stay with you.
Right, and you've been the head of HR at Infosys. And again, there's been a little bit of a talk about the 70-hour work week, which came from the founder, etc., and it went viral. What are your thoughts on this entire thing about whether we should work extra hours, we should not, and I would love to know your thoughts on this.
Frankly, this is the choice of individuals in terms of what it is, and also what they define as work and what they don't define. Well, there are lots of things there. I think there is some people define different things as work. For some people, work is very different. So I think it's a choice of the individuals. I think what really helps people is have a balance of interests. Yeah, it's you do work, but you also do other things, which really help you do your work better. And I think that kind of a balance of having other things to help you, recharge, learn, connect with people, all that is important. So again, it's a choice. Yeah, there have been times where I've worked 10, 12 hours, more than that a day. And there have been times where I've worked less. So it's a choice, and I think we also have to work according to the situation. But yes, I think the key principles is keep a balance, because that balance helps you rejuvenate, learn, and do that. But work, I think you've got to make a choice what it is. I mean, you're setting up a business, doing something on your own, you've got to spend that extra hours and do it. And that's, that situation calls for it, so you've got to do it. And people have done it across teams. I think people have worked day and night in many situations, and they've done it. So, yeah, it's situational, it's a choice, it's about what you define as work. And I don't think there's any black or white about it.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, I mean, I'm the last person who will say that, we should have fixed hours, because, I sometimes wake up in the middle of the night and start working. But yeah, I mean, it completely depends on the individual, and I wouldn't be telling my team to do the same thing. I think it's only fair to say that you define your own work and your hours and move accordingly. So we were talking about doing other things. I would love to know what Krish Shankar does in his free time.
In my free time, I do a little bit of running.
Okay.
I watch some sports, try and play a little bit of sports, but and some reading, here and there.
What do you read?
Whatever comes, and I listen to some podcasts, but I read. I recently read a book called The $1 Trillion Coach.
Okay.
Which is a really recent book. But I keep reading different things. Yeah.
Any 3 books you would like to recommend to students or young people which can change their lives potentially?
Well, there are lots of books. Again, it depends on what they want. If you were to look at books that impacted me, I would say Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl is a
lovely
good one.
book.
Tough book to read, but it's a nice book. I also liked it's a very old book, which is called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Stephen Covey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe 80s or something. Again, I think it's still a book which really brings out some of the basics. And if you're asking for students to do that. What else? I also like a lot of books which are books about entrepreneurs and stories. I like The Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. It's an excellent book. You should read that.
What is it about?
It's about Phil Knight, who set up Nike. His
Okay.
story. It's a phenomenal story, and it's a beautifully written book. Akio Morita's book called Sony is again very, very, very good, which again came back long years ago. I also loved, one of the books I loved was on Walmart by Sam Walton, which is again a beautiful book. But again, these are all late 80s kind of books. Yeah. Isaacson's books are also very good. I've read the ones on Steve Jobs, which is very good. But if you were to look at one business book, I would say Good to Great is a nice book. I think anyone should read it because I think it captures the essence of what makes a great business.
Okay. So how to go from good to great,
Yeah.
essentially.
Phil
By?
Collins. Okay. Phil Collins.
Okay. Okay.
I think, Phil Collins. Good to Great, yeah.
Okay. By Phil Collins about setting up a business.
Yeah, he's evaluated many businesses, looked at companies that have really become great companies, and he found out what really makes them great. And he comes up with 6 principles. It's a very simple thing. And one of the principles is leadership, and he says the great leaders have 2 key things. One is a very strong will and humility. So I think these 2 come together to really make them the great leaders. So it's a good book for entrepreneurs. You should read it.
Right. And would you encourage students to pursue entrepreneurship?
I think so, because it's a great way. Firstly, number one, of building and bringing your creativity to work. It's a great way of also setting your kind of your vision and bringing your vision to action some way. And it's also a thing which really brings everything there. It's a situation which will help you learn because it challenges you on many counts. The way your vision, how you get things done, how you connect with people, all put together. So it's a tough job.
Yeah.
People will learn a lot from it. So yes, if students have an idea, I think they should pursue it. Even if they fail, because it's really going to help them build and build their leadership style and their skills.
And a huge learning even from anything that fails on that front. You've been in a corporate career and you've been an entrepreneur, setting up your own consulting. What was easier?
I think each has a different challenge. The corporate ones, we've been through different types, and the challenges there and the skills needed in a corporate career is different. As a consultant, it's not really a startup because it's just knowledge business, so that's not that difficult in a way because of being in years. But I think, I would say challenges are all different, and it really helps you become the one thing is, as an entrepreneur or whatever it is, you got to be hands-on. You got to be, you got to do everything yourself and understand and not really hope that there's somebody else.
There's no other department to take care of this or that.
Yeah. You're on your own and you got to be everything.
Yeah, but you're enjoying that as well.
Yeah, it's good. Love it.
Yeah. Okay, so before we close, anything that you would like to send as a message to the young people of today who are watching this podcast?
Well, I think what I would say is life is the rate of change is going to increase. Lots of things going to happen. And then the thing that I would say is what really helps is for each of them to have some kind of a purpose or a vision, saying this is what I want to achieve, or this is the kind of impact I want to have. That really helps, because once that is there, then I think the rest will come around it. Yeah, then you don't have to worry about a 70 or a 90 hour or what, etc. But if this is what it is, then you know what it is you want to do. And as we go forward in the age of AI and so many things happening, it's important to have a broader a breadth of knowledge rather than just one or two, but read more, have a breadth of vision, and have hobbies and things where you kind of
Go back
and relate, and then that'll help you recharge and kind of rejuvenate yourself. So the life is going to get challenging more and more. Nothing is going to ease
It's
out.
not going to get easier.
It's not going to get easier. You got to build your resilience, your skills and get ready for that. So yeah, I think some kind of a focus on what impact that you want to have, purpose, some kind of things that will really help you enjoy many of these things. And if you can really have a kind of a mix of what you really like and what you really do, if there's an overlap with that, then that's great. If not, you got to
like it.
You got to start liking whatever you're doing over time and be passionate about it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and because I'm curious, did you always know you would want to be in HR for the?
No, not really. And when I was in college, it was quite accidental because I was not really an extrovert kind of a person that will go and do things. I was a bit quieter. But a senior of mine in my college said, "Listen, you should apply for HR." And we met in a train, and he said, "Apply for HR." And the HR happened to be in Jamshedpur, which is also a place I lived before. So I said, "I'll go apply." So it was a bit accidental, but
destiny.
Yeah, destiny. I liked it though.
Super. Thank you so much, Krish, for taking the time to speak to us and give us your insights. I particularly loved the book list. I think you're an avid reader, and definitely it's something to take back, and your thoughts on how students can navigate the age of AI. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks.
Thank you. All the best.
Thanks.